The stars looked cold and distant through the observation deck of the Stellar Pioneer. Dr. Kate. Morrison pressed her hand against the thick glass and watched the alien sun grow larger as their ship moved closer to the Vorthok homeworld. She had studied alien life forms for 15 years. But this would be her first time meeting a species that every other race in the galaxy feared. Captain Jake Sullivan walked up behind her, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. Having second thoughts about this mission, Doc? Kate turned around and smiled. Jake was a good captain, steady and calm even when things got dangerous. His brown hair was getting gray at the sides, and his green eyes showed the kind of experience that came from years in deep space. No second thoughts, Jake. Just thinking about what we might find down there. The Vorthok were 8 feet tall, with scales like armor and claws that could cut through steel. They hunted in packs and had never lost a war. Most species in the galaxy avoided their territory completely, but Kate's team was different. They were scientists, and they wanted to understand how different alien species had become the top hunters on their worlds. Tony Rivera, their security chief, came into the observation room carrying a data pad. His dark eyes looked worried. Captain, we just got the latest reports from the diplomatic teams. 3 different species tried to make contact with the Vorthok in the last 50 years. 2 of those teams never came back. The 3rd team came back, but they were changed. They wouldn't talk about what happened. Lisa Chen, their communications officer, looked up from her workstation. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple style, and her expression was serious. I've been studying their language patterns. The Vorthok don't just communicate with words. They use scent markers, body positions, and something the computer calls dominance displays. If we make one wrong move, they might see it as a challenge. Kate nodded. She had read all the same reports. The Vorthok were dangerous, but they were also the key to understanding something important. Every apex predator species in the galaxy had similar behavior patterns, similar ways of thinking, and similar social structures. She wanted to know why. Remember, Kate said to her team, "We're not here to fight them or challenge them. We're here to learn. If they see us as a threat, we leave immediately." The ship's computer made a soft sound, approaching Vorthok orbital. Space. Receiving communication signals. Lisa quickly moved to her main console, putting it through the translation system now. She paused as symbols appeared on her screen. Captain, they're not sending a warning or a threat. They're sending coordinates for a landing site. Jake raised his eyebrows. That's unexpected. Usually, predator species make visitors wait in orbit for days before allowing them to land. The Stellar Pioneer moved through the Vorthok system toward their home world. The planet was mostly red and orange, with large oceans that looked almost black from space. As they got closer, Kate could see massive cities built into mountainsides and huge hunting preserves that stretched across entire continents. Their shuttle landed at the designated coordinates just as the alien sun was setting. The landing pad was made of smooth black stone, and it was surrounded by tall towers that looked like they were carved from single pieces of rock. Kate checked her environmental suit one more time. The Vorthok world had breathable air, but the gravity was stronger than Earth's. The atmosphere had different chemical balances. Jake opened the shuttle door, and they stepped out onto the alien world. The air smelled like metal and something else Kate couldn't identify. The gravity made every step feel heavy, and the orange sunlight made everything look different from what they expected. That was when they saw the Vorthok delegation. 5 of them stood waiting near the base of the nearest tower. They were even more impressive in person than in the videos Kate had studied. Their scales caught the orange light and seemed to glow. Their eyes were large and yellow, with pupils that could change size quickly. Their claws were partially extended, which Lisa had said was a sign of alertness. It's not aggression. The largest Vorthok stepped forward. Its movements were smooth and controlled, like a cat getting ready to pounce. When it spoke, the translation device changed its words into English. "I am Sektar, hunt leader of the 3rd pack. You are the humans from the small blue world." Kate stepped forward, trying to keep her movements slow and non-threatening. "I am Dr. Kate Morrison. We come to learn about your people, and to share knowledge about our own. Sektar moved closer, and Kate could see that its yellow eyes were studying her face very carefully. The other Vorthok also moved closer, forming a loose circle around the human team. Kate felt her heart beating faster, but she forced herself to stay calm. Then something strange happened. Sektar's eyes widened, and its head tilted to one side. The other Vorthok made low sounds that the translation device couldn't interpret. Sektar took another step closer to Kate, close enough that she could see the patterns in its scales and smell its alien scent. "Your eyes," Sektar said slowly. "They carry the mark of the ancient hunters. We know this fire." Kate was confused. "I don't understand. What mark? What fire?" Sektar looked at Jake, then at Tony and Lisa. Its expression changed in a way that Kate had never seen in any alien species before. It looked almost like recognition, the way a person might look when seeing an old friend after many years. "You hunt," Sektar said. "Not with claws or teeth, but you hunt. Your species remembers what it means to never stop, never give up, never become prey. This is written in your eyes, human Kate Morrison." The other Vorthok were making more of those low sounds. One of them stepped forward and spoke to Sektar in their own language. The translation device picked up only fragments: ancient stories, first hunters, and the ones who walked into darkness. Sektar turned back to Kate. "Before, we can speak as equals. You must prove what your eyes promise. You must show us that humans still carry the hunter's heart. Will you accept the trials?" Kate looked at her team. Jake nodded slightly. Tony's hand moved closer to his sidearm, but his expression showed curiosity more than fear. Lisa was recording everything, her eyes bright with excitement. "What kind of trials?" Kate asked. "The kind that will show us if humans are truly the children of the first hunters, or if you have forgotten what it means to be predators in a universe full of prey." The Vorthok hunting grounds stretched out like a vast arena under the orange sky. Kate Morrison stood at the edge of the proving area with her team, watching as hundreds of Vorthok gathered in the stone seats carved into the hillsides around them. The noise they made was like a mix of growling and clicking that the translation devices couldn't handle. Sektar walked over to the humans, moving with the smooth grace of a born predator. Behind him came 3 other Vorthok, each one carrying different pieces of equipment. "The trials will test 3 things," Sektar explained. "First, your ability to think like a hunter. Second, your ability to work as a pack. Third, your ability to face a predator that wants to kill you and not run away." Jake stepped forward. "What exactly are we hunting?" "Nothing that lives," Sektar replied. "We use light projections, what you might call holograms. But they are perfect copies of real creatures. They move like real prey, they react like real prey, and they can hurt you like real prey if you make mistakes." Tony adjusted his equipment belt. "What happens if we fail these trials?" Sektar's yellow eyes looked at Tony for a long moment. "Then you prove that humans are not what your eyes promise. You will leave our world, and we will tell other apex species that humans are just another prey race that learned to use tools." Lisa. Chen looked nervous. "And if we pass, then you prove that the legends are true, that humans are the children of the first hunters, and that your species remembers what it means to never surrender." Kate felt her heart beating fast, but she kept her voice steady. "We accept your trials." The first trial began immediately. The Vorthok led them to a circular area filled with obstacles like rocks, trees, and small hills. A holographic creature appeared. It looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard, with thick armor plates and sharp claws. The creature was about the size of a small car. "This is a Kreth," Sektar explained. "They are extinct now, but they were the apex predators on our world before we learned to hunt them. Your task is simple. Work together to bring down the Kreth, using only your natural abilities and basic tools. You may not use your advanced weapons." Kate looked at her team. They had knives, rope, and some basic climbing gear. The holographic Kreth was pacing back and forth, its red eyes scanning the area for threats. "Spread out," Jake whispered to Kate. "You're the smallest and fastest. You draw its attention. Tony, you get behind it. Lisa, you helped me set up a trap using the rope. Kate nodded and picked up a small rock. She threw it at the Kreth, hitting it in the side. The creature roared and charged toward her. Kate ran toward a group of large rocks, jumping and climbing with quick movements. The Kreth followed her, but it was too big to follow her exact path. Tony moved like a shadow, staying low and quiet as he circled around behind the creature. Meanwhile, Jake and Lisa worked together to tie the rope between two trees, creating a trap at ankle height. The Kreth chased Kate around the rocks, getting more and more angry. Kate jumped from rock to rock, always staying just out of reach. She was getting tired, but she didn't stop. Every time the creature got close, she found a new way to escape. Now, Jake shouted. Kate ran straight toward the rope trap. The Kreth followed her, roaring with rage. Just as Kate jumped over the rope, the creature's legs hit it. The Kreth stumbled and fell forward. Tony was ready. He jumped onto the creature's back and wrapped his arms around its thick neck. The Kreth thrashed and tried to throw him off, but Tony held on tight. The weak spot is behind the left front leg. Kate shouted, remembering what she had read about similar creatures. Jake grabbed his knife and moved toward the struggling Kreth. With one quick movement, he struck the creature in the exact spot Kate had indicated. The holographic Kreth made a final roar and then disappeared. The Vorthok, watching from the stone seats, made loud clicking sounds. Sektar walked over to the humans, his expression unreadable. Interesting, he said. You did not try to overpower the Kreth. You used its own strength against it. You worked as a unit, but each of you had a different role. The small one led the hunt, the quiet one made the kill, and the others supported both. This is how true hunters work. The second trial was different. The Vorthok created a complex maze using their holographic technology. Inside the maze were multiple creatures, all of them predators from different worlds. The humans had to work their way through the maze, avoiding some creatures and defeating others. Lisa surprised everyone during this trial. She seemed to know which creatures were dangerous and which ones were just trying to scare them. When they encountered a pack of wolf-like creatures, Lisa watched their body language and told the team exactly when to move and when to stay still. She reads them like a book, Tony whispered to Kate as they watched Lisa guide them past a group of flying predators. Kate nodded. She was starting to understand something about her team that she had never noticed before. They all had instincts that went beyond their training. The third trial was the hardest. The Vorthok created a holographic version of their greatest enemy, a creature they called the Death Stalker. It was fast, smart, and absolutely deadly. The humans had to face it alone. One at a time, Tony went first. He lasted 30 seconds before the Death Stalker cornered him. Lisa went second. She used her ability to read the creature's behavior and lasted almost 2 minutes before it caught her. Jake lasted nearly 3 minutes by using military tactics and staying calm under pressure. Then it was Kate's turn. She walked into the arena and looked at the Death Stalker. It was like a giant cat mixed with a spider, with too many eyes and claws that could cut through steel. The creature circled her slowly, studying her movements. Kate did something that surprised everyone, including herself. She didn't run, she didn't try to fight, she just stood there and stared at the Death Stalker with steady eyes. The creature moved closer, but Kate didn't move. She kept her eyes locked on the creature's main pair of eyes, never blinking, never looking away. Minutes passed. The Death Stalker kept circling, but it seemed confused. It would start to attack, then stop, would bare its claws, then back away. After 10 minutes, the Death Stalker sat down. It was still watching Kate, but it was no longer trying to attack her. After 15 minutes, the creature lowered its head in what looked like a bow. Sektar stopped the trial. He walked over to Kate, his yellow eyes wide with amazement. You did not defeat the Death Stalker, he said. You made it recognize you as a greater predator. In all our history, only the legendary first hunters were said to have this ability. Kate looked at her team, then at the hundreds of Vorthok watching from the stone seats. She realized that something important had just happened, something that would change everything. What does this mean? She asked. Sektar's expression was full of respect and something that might have been fear. It means that the ancient stories are true. It means that humans are not just another intelligent species. You are the children of the galaxy's greatest hunters, and you carry their power in your blood. The crowd of Vorthok began to make a new sound, a deep humming that seemed to come from their chests. Sektar explained that it was the sound they made when showing respect to a superior predator. Now, Sektar said, we must take you to meet the others. There are many apex species in the galaxy, and they all have the same legends about the first hunters. They all need to see what we have seen today. Kate looked up at the orange sky and wondered what other secrets the galaxy was hiding. She had the feeling that their journey was just beginning. The ocean world of Krillos looked like a giant blue marble from space. Kate Morrison watched through the viewport of the Stellar Pioneer as they approached the water planet. 3 weeks had passed since the trials on the Vorthok homeworld, and word had spread quickly through the galaxy about what the humans had accomplished. Captain Jake Sullivan checked the navigation systems one more time. The Krillians live deep underwater. Their cities are built in ocean trenches that go down for miles. We'll need to use the deep-water shuttle to reach them. Tony Rivera was cleaning his equipment, but Kate could see he was nervous. I've read the reports about the Krillians. They're whale-like creatures, but they're also the smartest apex predators in the galaxy. Some of them are over 1,000 years old. Lisa Chen looked up from her communication station. I've been trying to learn their language, but it's complicated. They use sound waves that travel through water, and they can communicate across entire ocean basins. They also use something called bioelectric fields to share information. Kate nodded. After what happened with the Vorthok, she knew that meeting the Krillians would be important. Sektar had insisted that the Krillians were the key to understanding. The first hunter legends said they were the record keepers of the galaxy. The ones who remembered things that other species had forgotten. The deep-water shuttle. It's built like a submarine, but much more advanced. It could handle the crushing pressure of the deepest ocean trenches. And it had special equipment for communicating with aquatic species. As they descended through the dark blue water, Kate watched the depth gauge climb higher and higher. They were going deeper than any human had ever gone in Earth's oceans. Contact on sensors, Lisa announced. Something big is approaching from below. Through the shuttle's lights, they could see a shape moving in the water. It was enormous, easily the size of a building. As it came closer, Kate could see that it was one of the Krillians. Its body was smooth and dark, with patterns of light running along its sides. Its eyes were huge and intelligent, and they seemed to glow with their own inner light. The creature spoke, and its voice came through the shuttle's speakers like the sound of singing mixed with whale calls. The translation system worked hard to change the sounds into words. Welcome, children of the dry world. I am Deep Echo, speaker for the ancient depths. We have been waiting for you to come. Kate activated the communication system. I am Dr. Kate Morrison. We come seeking knowledge about the legends of the first hunters. Deep Echo moved closer to the shuttle, and Kate could see that there were other Krillians swimming in the darkness around them. Some were smaller, but others were even larger than Deep Echo. Their bioelectric fields created patterns of light in the water that were beautiful to watch. Follow us to the Deep Council, Deep Echo said. There are things you must see, things that will change how you understand your own species. The Krillians led the shuttle down into an underwater canyon that seemed to have no bottom. The walls were covered with strange plants that glowed with soft light, and Kate could see structures built into the rock faces. The Krillian cities were nothing like human cities. They flowed and curved like living things, and they seemed to be made of the same material as the creatures themselves. They arrived at a massive underwater chamber that was filled with hundreds of Krillians. The largest ones were arranged in a circle in the center of the chamber, and their bioelectric fields created a complex pattern of lights that pulsed and shifted like a living computer. Deep Echo guided the shuttle to a platform where the humans could exit safely. The platform was surrounded by a field that kept the water out and provided breathable air. Kate and her team stepped out of the shuttle and found themselves face to face with some of the oldest and most intelligent creatures in the galaxy. Humans, Deep Echo said, swimming closer to the platform. We have watched your species from afar for many years. We have seen your ships travel between the stars, and we have wondered when you would finally come to us. Jake stepped forward. You've been watching us? How is that possible? Earth is very far from here. Another Krillian, even older than Deep Echo, moved into the circle of light. Its bioelectric patterns were more complex than the others, and its voice was deeper. I am Ancient Current, eldest of the Deep Council. We see more than just what happens in space, young human. We see the patterns that connect all living things. We see the genetic memories that flow through bloodlines like currents in the ocean. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. Genetic memories? What do you mean? Ancient Current's huge eyes focused on Kate with an intensity that made her feel like her very soul was being examined. Your species carries markers in its genetic code, markers that match our oldest records. We have been keeping these records for millions of years, waiting for the children of the first hunters to return. Lisa stepped closer to the edge of the platform. Return, you mean humans have been here before? Here, Ancient Current replied. But your ancestors were known to us? Long before your world developed complex life, before your species learned to walk upright?
Ow.
The first hunters traveled between the stars. They were the galaxy's protectors, the ones who hunted the things that hunted life itself. Tony looked confused, but that's impossible. Yeah, humans only developed space travel a few hundred years ago. Deep Echo made a sound that might have been laughter. Not your modern humans, warrior. The first hunters were what your species might have become if your world had developed differently. They were human, but they were also something more. Ancient Current swam closer to the platform, and Kate could see that its eyes held wisdom accumulated over centuries. The first hunters faced a great threat, something that consumed entire civilizations. In their final battle, most of them were lost, but some escaped, scattered across the galaxy to distant worlds where they could survive and grow. Kate's mind was racing. Are you saying that humans on Earth are descendants of these first hunters? We are saying more than that, Ancient Current replied. We are saying that every human carries the genetic memory of the first hunters, sleeps in your blood, waiting to awaken when it is needed most. The old Krillian's bioelectric field pulsed brighter, and suddenly Kate could see images in the light. They were like movies made of electricity, showing scenes from the distant past. She saw humanoid figures that looked almost like modern humans, but their eyes held a quality that made them seem more intense, more focused. The deathless gaze, Deep Echo explained. That is what we called it. The look of a predator that would choose death before surrender. Every apex predator in the galaxy recognizes this quality because it was burned into our collective memory during the Great War. Jake watched the images with fascination. What happened to them? The first hunters, Ancient Current's expression became sad. They walked into darkness to face an enemy that could not be defeated by weapons or technology. Only by the absolute refusal to surrender could this enemy be held back. The first hunters gave their lives to save the galaxy, but they also left behind a legacy. Kate understood now why the Vorthok had recognized something special in human eyes. We carry their instincts, their refusal to give up. More than instincts, Ancient Current said, but you carry their purpose. The great enemy was not destroyed, only delayed. It will return, and when it does, the galaxy will once again need hunters who refuse to become prey. Lisa looked at the swirling images in the bioelectric field. How do you know all this? How can you be sure these genetic memories are real? Deep Echo moved closer to Lisa, and his huge eyes seemed to look right through her. Because we can. See them in you, young human? All of you carry the markers. But you, the one who speaks to machines, you carry something else. You have the ability to read the emotional states of other species, to understand their intentions without words. This was a crucial ability of the first hunters. Tony stepped forward. And what about the rest of us? Ancient Current studied Tony carefully. You, warrior, carry the tactical instincts. You see battlefields in your mind. You understand how to use terrain and timing to win against superior numbers. You, leader, he looked at Jake, carry the ability to unite different species under one purpose. And you, seeker of knowledge, his gaze turned to Kate, carry the most important gift of all. Kate felt her heart beating faster. What gift? Gift that made the Deathstalker bow to you on the Vorthok world. You carry the pure essence of the hunter's spirit. When you look at a creature, any creature, it recognizes in your eyes the will of the first hunters. You are what they were, what they chose to become when they walked into darkness. The images in the bioelectric field changed, showing a vast darkness moving between the stars. Kate could feel a chill that had nothing to do with the cold water. Around them, it comes again, Ancient Current said quietly. The enemy that consumed civilizations, the hunger that devours light itself, our deep sensors have detected the signs. Soon, very soon, the galaxy will need its protectors once more. Kate looked at her team, then back at the ancient Krillians. What do we need to do? Deep Echo's bioelectric field pulsed with what might have been approval. First, you must awaken the memories that sleep in your blood. Then you must find the others like you, the humans who carry the strongest. The dead star system looked like a graveyard in space. Kate Morrison stared out at the empty planets through the viewport of the Stellar Pioneer. Ancient Current had given them the coordinates to this place, but the old Krillian had warned them that what they would find here might be difficult to understand. Captain Jake Sullivan checked the scanner readings one more time. The third planet shows signs of ancient structures, but no life signs at all. The whole system is cold and dead. Whatever happened here, it happened a long time ago. Tony Rivera was studying tactical displays of the planet's surface. Ruins that cover entire continents. This wasn't just a city or even a country. This was a whole civilization, and it was huge. Lisa Chen looked up from her communication equipment with worry in her eyes. I'm picking up strange energy readings from the planet. They're very faint, but they seem to be coming from deep underground. It's like something is still active down there after all these years. Kate felt a strange pulling sensation in her chest as she looked at the dead world. Ever since their meeting with the Krillians, she had been having dreams about places she had never seen and people she had never met. The genetic memories that Ancient Current had talked about were starting to wake up. Their shuttle landed on the surface of the dead planet near what looked like the remains of a massive city. The buildings were made of a material that Kate had never seen before, something that looked like metal and stone mixed together. Many of the structures were broken and covered with strange markings that might have been writing or art. The atmosphere was thin, but breathable. The gravity was close to Earth normal. As they walked through the ruins, Kate noticed that everything was built on a scale that would fit humans perfectly. Doorways were the right height, stairs were the right size, and even the broken furniture seemed designed for human-sized beings. Look at this, Tony called out from near a wall covered with carvings. These figures look almost human, but there's something different about them. Kate walked over to examine the carvings. Figures were definitely humanoid, but their eyes were different. They seemed larger and more intense than normal human eyes. And there was something about the way they were carved that made them look like they were staring right through anyone who looked at them. Jake found something even more interesting. Over here, he called. This looks like some kind of historical record. The wall Jake had found was covered with carved images that told a story. The pictures showed humanoid figures working, alongside creatures that looked like the various alien species Kate's team had encountered. There were Vorthok-like reptiles, Krillian-like sea creatures, and dozens of other species all working together. But as the story continued along the wall, the images changed. A darkness appeared in the carvings, something that seemed to consume everything it touched. The various species were shown fleeing, but the humanoid figures stayed behind to fight. Lisa was recording everything with her equipment. The energy readings are getting stronger as we go deeper into the ruins. Whatever is causing them, it's underground. They found an entrance to the underground areas near the center of the ruined city. The passage was wide and well built, with more carvings along the walls. As they went deeper, Kate's strange dreams became clearer. She started to remember things that she had never experienced, but somehow knew were real. The underground chamber they found was enormous. The ceiling was so high that their lights couldn't reach it, and the walls stretched out beyond what they could see. But what caught their attention immediately was the massive mural that covered one entire wall. The mural showed the complete story of the first hunters. Kate could see them as they really were, not just the carved images from above. They looked like humans, but their eyes held a quality that made them seem more than human. They were the apex predators that every other apex predator respected and feared. The mural showed how the first hunters had protected the galaxy for thousands of years, keeping dangerous creatures and forces away from the peaceful species. Showed them working with the Vorthok, the Krillians, and many other predator species to maintain balance in the galaxy. But then the images showed the coming of the Hunger. The Hunger wasn't just a creature or even a group of creatures. It was something much worse. The mural showed it as a darkness that consumed not just planets or species, but entire sections of space itself. Wherever the Hunger went, reality itself seemed to break down. Tony studied the tactical parts of the mural with growing concern. Look at this. First hunters tried everything. They used advanced weapons. They formed alliances with every species in the galaxy. They even tried to run away to distant parts of space. Nothing worked. Jake pointed to another section of the mural, but they didn't give up. Look here, even. When they were down to just a few survivors, they kept fighting. The final part of the mural showed the last group of first hunters making their final stand. But it wasn't a battle in the normal sense. The images showed them walking into a swirling portal of darkness, not to attack the Hunger, but to face it in its own realm. Kate felt tears in her eyes as she looked at the final image. It showed the last first hunter, a woman who looked remarkably like Kate herself, turning back to look at the galaxy one final time before stepping into the darkness. Our eyes held the same quality that the Vorthok had recognized in Kate's eyes: the absolute refusal to surrender. Lisa's equipment started beeping urgently. The energy readings are spiking. Something down here is responding to our presence. That was when they found the memory crystal. It was sitting in the center of the chamber, glowing with a soft blue light. The crystal was about the size of a person's head, and it seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. As Kate approached it, the pulsing got faster. "Don't touch it," Tony warned, but Kate was already reaching out her hand. The moment Kate's fingers made contact with the crystal, the chamber filled with light and sound. Suddenly, Kate could see and hear everything that had happened in this place millions of years ago. She saw the first hunters in their final days, preparing for their last mission. She felt their determination, their love for the galaxy they were trying to protect, and their knowledge that they would not survive what they were about to do. But most importantly, she saw their plan. The first hunters had not tried to destroy the Hunger because they knew it couldn't be destroyed. Instead, they had trapped it in a place between dimensions, a prison where it could not reach the normal universe. But the prison was not permanent. It would only hold for a certain amount of time. Kate saw the leader of the first hunters, a man who looked like he could be Jake's ancestor, making the final preparations. He was sending out signals to distant worlds where some of the first hunters had sent their children to keep them safe. "The bloodline will continue," the ancient first hunter said in the memory. "When the Hunger returns, our children will be ready. They will carry our memories, our instincts, and our refusal to let evil win. The apex predators of the galaxy will recognize them and follow them, just as they followed us." The memory crystal showed Kate one final image. It was a star map showing the location of the prison where the Hunger was trapped. But the prison was weakening. Cracks were appearing in the dimensional walls, and something dark was starting to seep through. Kate pulled her hand away from the crystal and looked at her team with eyes that now held the full knowledge of what they were facing. "The Krillians were right," she said quietly. "The Hunger is coming back. The prison is breaking down, and we don't have much time." Jake stepped closer to Kate. "How much time do we have?" Kate looked at the star map one more time, calculating the rate at which the prison was failing. "Maybe 6 months?" Tony checked his weapons automatically. "What do we need to do?" Kate felt the genetic memories flowing through her mind, showing her things that her ancestors had known. "We need to gather every apex predator species in the galaxy. We need to wake up the first hunter instincts in as many humans as possible. And we need to prepare for a hunt that will determine whether life itself survives in this galaxy. Lisa was still recording everything. But how do we fight something that the original first hunters couldn't defeat? Kate smiled, and for a moment, her expression was exactly like the woman in the final mural. We don't fight it the same way they did. We have something they didn't have. What's that? Jake asked. We have the knowledge of their sacrifice. We know what they learned when they walked into the darkness. And most importantly, we have proof that even when facing certain death, it's possible to protect the things you love. Kate looked around the ancient chamber one more time. The first hunters didn't fail. They bought us millions of years to prepare. Now it's our turn to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. As they prepared to leave the dead world, Kate could feel the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. The galaxy's apex predators had been waiting for this moment, waiting for the children of the first hunters to remember who they really were. The real hunt was about to begin. The edge of the galaxy looked like the end of everything. Kate Morrison stood on the bridge of the largest fleet that had ever been assembled, watching as thousands of ships from dozens of species moved into formation. 3 months had passed since they found the memory crystal. And now the moment they had all been preparing for was here. Captain Jake Sullivan was coordinating the fleet movements from his command station. He was no longer just the captain of one research ship. Every apex predator species in the galaxy had agreed to follow his tactical leadership. All ships report ready. Kate, the Vorthok battle packs are in position. The Krillian deep hunters have their bioelectric fields synchronized. Even the crystal entities from the Zeta sector are here. Tony Rivera was checking the readings from Zeta Zeds from their long-range sensors. His face was grim. The dimensional barriers are almost completely broken. I'm reading massive energy distortions all along the prison boundary. Whatever's in there, it's getting ready to break out, Lisa Chin was managing. Communications between the different species. Her ability to understand alien emotions had grown stronger over the past few months. And now, she could coordinate between species that had never worked together before. All fleet commanders acknowledged the battle plan. They're ready to follow. Human leadership into combat. Kate felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but she also felt something else. The genetic memories of the first hunters were fully awake now. She could feel the presence of her ancestors guiding her thoughts. She was no longer just Dr. Kate Morrison, scientist. She was the inheritor of a legacy that stretched back millions of years. The prison that held the hunger was located in empty space between galaxies, in a region where normal physics barely worked. As the fleet approached the area, Kate could see the dimensional cracks spreading like breaks in glass. Through the cracks, she could see something moving in the darkness beyond. All ships, this is Kate Morrison, she said into the fleet communications system. In a few minutes, we're going to face something that has been trapped for millions of years. It consumed entire civilizations before, and it wants to do the same thing again. But we have something the galaxy has never had before. She paused, looking around at her crew and thinking about all the apex predator species that were following them into battle. We have unity. Every major predator species in the galaxy is here, working together for the first time in history. The Vorthok bring their pack hunting instincts. The Krillians bring their ancient wisdom and bioelectric coordination. The crystal entities bring their ability to exist in multiple dimensions at once. And humans bring the one thing that every apex predator recognizes and respects. Kate's voice grew stronger as she spoke. We bring the absolute refusal to surrender. We bring the will to keep fighting, even when victory seems impossible. We bring the hunter's heart that chooses death before defeat. The dimensional prison finally broke completely. The cracks spread across space like a spider web, and then the entire structure collapsed. What came out of the broken prison was beyond anything Kate had imagined. The hunger wasn't a creature in any sense that living beings could understand. It was like a piece of space itself had become aware and malevolent.
Matter.
It consumed light, matter, energy, and even the basic laws of physics. Wherever it moved, reality became twisted and wrong. But Kate wasn't afraid. The genetic memories told her what to expect, and they also told her what to do. All ships, execute the Morrison Protocol, she ordered. The Morrison Protocol was named after Kate, but it was really based on the final strategy of the original first hunters. Instead of trying to fight the hunger directly, they would surround it and force it to focus on them while other teams worked to rebuild the dimensional prison. The Vorthok ships attacked first, moving in coordinated pack formations that forced the hunger to split its attention. The Krillians used their bioelectric fields to create interference patterns that disrupted the hunger's ability to consume energy efficiently. The crystal entities phased in and out of different dimensions, confusing the hunger's senses. But it was the humans who did something that surprised everyone, including Kate herself. As the hunger focused its attack on the human ships, something unexpected happened. Instead of being consumed like everything else, the hunger touched. The human crews fought back with a ferocity that even the apex predator species had never seen before. Kate watched as human pilots flew their ships directly into the hunger's darkness, not to sacrifice themselves, but to plant dimensional anchors that would help rebuild the prison. She saw human soldiers walking into areas where reality itself was breaking down, carrying equipment that would restore the dimensional barriers. Most importantly, she saw human commanders refusing to retreat even when their ships were being torn apart by forces that could unmake matter itself. "Tony, take us in closer," Kate ordered. "Kate, if we get much closer, the hunger will be able to reach us directly," Tony warned. "That's what I'm counting on," Kate replied. The stellar pioneer moved toward the heart of the hunger's darkness. As they got closer, Kate could feel the entity's attention focusing on her. She could sense its ancient malevolence, its desire to consume everything that lived and moved and thought. But she could also sense something else. The hunger was confused. He had remembered the original first hunters, but Kate and her people were different. They had learned from the sacrifice of their ancestors, and they had something the original first hunters didn't have. They had hope. "All human crews, listen to me," Kate said into the communication system. "The hunger feeds on despair and fear. It grows stronger when it faces beings who believe they're going to lose. But we're not going to lose. We're going to win because we refuse to accept any other outcome." As Kate spoke, something amazing happened. The human crews throughout the fleet began to coordinate without any central command. Pilots started flying in patterns that maximized their effectiveness. Engineers began working together to boost their ship's power beyond safe limits. Soldiers prepared for boarding actions against an enemy that existed in multiple dimensions. But most importantly, they all looked at the hunger with the same expression that Kate had used to face the Deathstalker on the Vorthok world. They looked at it with the deathless gaze, the expression that said they would rather die than give up. The hunger had never encountered this before. In all its existence, it had faced beings who fought with courage, beings who fought with determination, and beings who fought with desperate hope. But it had never faced beings who simply refused to acknowledge the possibility of defeat. Kate felt the moment when the hunger's confidence began to crack. All fleet commanders initiate dimensional barrier restoration now. The combined fleet worked together with perfect coordination. The Vorthok used their pack-hunting instincts to keep the hunger distracted. The Krillians used their bioelectric fields to provide power for the dimensional equipment. The crystal entities used their multidimensional nature to anchor the prison from outside normal space, and the humans did what they had always done best. They refused to quit as the new dimensional prison began to form around the hunger. The entity made one final attempt to break free. It focused all of its power on the human ships, trying to consume the ones who had shown it something it couldn't understand. Kate felt the hunger's attention, like a weight trying to crush her spirit. She could feel it trying to fill her mind with despair, trying to make her believe that resistance was hopeless. Instead, she smiled. "You don't understand," she said, knowing somehow that the hunger could hear her thoughts. "We're not fighting you because we think we can win. We're fighting you because fighting is what we do. We're the children of the first hunters, and we hunt the things that hunt life itself." The dimensional prison snapped closed around the hunger. With a sound like reality healing itself, the entity was trapped once again, but this time the prison was stronger. This time it was built not just with technology, but with the combined will of every apex predator species in the galaxy. As the fleet began to disperse, Kate received messages from commanders of every species. The Vorthok said that humans had proven themselves to be the greatest pack hunters in the galaxy. The Krillians said that the genetic memories of the first hunters lived on in their descendants. The crystal entities said that humans had shown them what it meant to exist with absolute purpose. Jake looked at Kate with admiration and something that might have been awe. So what happens now? Do we go back to exploring and research? Kate looked out at the stars, feeling the presence of her ancestors in her mind, and knowing that somewhere out there, other threats to life might be stirring. We do what hunters always did. We protect the galaxy. We hunt the things that others can't hunt. It sounds like a good job for apex predators. Lisa was already coordinating with the other species about establishing permanent monitoring stations around the prison. The other apex species want to work with us on a permanent basis. They want humans to lead a galactic protection force. Kate nodded. She understood now why every apex predator in the galaxy recognized something unique in human eyes. It wasn't just the genetic heritage of the first hunters. It was the simple, absolute refusal to